Hey folks, Lianne Bridges here. I am transformation coach and catalyst for helping people achieve their human potential. So I just wanted today to talk a little bit about the energy that's happening on the planet right now and how we're all like different waves riding it in a different way. So the one thing that most of us are starting to recognize is that what's been happening for the last year and a half has been part of the universe's way to help us all awaken to our greater expressions of ourself. So, the idea of what is awakening, it means something different for each person and depending on where you are. And there's no judgment here. There's no to say that somebody's asleep and that's bad and someone that's wide awake is better. We all came here on this planet to experience the awakening journey. And all of us decided how we want to do that. And then when we get here, we have different ways of actually experiencing it and maybe choosing different things. So if we could look at kind of more of the metaphor of a game or a matrix where we incarnated and we forgot who we really are, which are divine beings having a temporary human experience. With great power and great light within and great intuition and knowledge and wisdom. In forgetting that, it allows us to play a game of re-remembering and how delicious re-remembering is, even though it can be very challenging and very painful at times as well. Again, if we use the metaphor of a game, if a game is really easy or a puzzle is really easy, it's not that much fun. Humans love to watch movies where there's drama. They love to work on puzzles that are harder and harder. They love mysteries, to be able to try to figure things out. Why? Because that is part of who we are innately as humans on this planet. And so if we look at this as a game or this big drama that's happening, people are awakening to what they need, i.e., helping them to heal past traumas from this lifetime and previous lifetimes, helping them to awaken to greater and greater reality of what's been happening and how for eons humans, a small portion of humans, have been manipulating a large group of humans. That's part of the awakening right now. And a lot of people are not quite there yet, and they call that conspiracy theories or whatever. But more and more people are actually awakening to that. And that is part of the piece. There's many pieces to the puzzle as we awaken from this kind of dense third dimension to a higher levels of fourth and fifth and beyond, that lighter energy where we really recognize our ability to manifest the reality that we want in this world. And in order to do that, there's almost like a whole bunch of levels that we need to do, just like a video game. And one of the levels is self-responsibility. So what does that mean? Well, for so long, we've been stuck in the idea of what I call other responsibility. If only everyone else could behave a certain way, I could feel good. How many times have you caught yourself, or have you even said, you made me feel a certain way? Well, nobody can make you feel a certain way. It's completely up to you to choose how you react to somebody else. How many times have you heard yourself or others say, if only this job was such and such, or if only this relationship offered me X, Y, Z, then I would be happy, I'd be able to do. That's other responsibility. Now, what we've been seeing en masse over the last year and a half is that playing out. The whole idea of if only everyone else would mask up, if only everyone else would social distance, stay in their home, abide by curfew, not travel, if only everyone else would get the jab, then we would all be okay. Well, that's impossible. We can't as a humanity ever get everyone else to think and do the same way we do. And so when we can recognize that the power is within us to create our reality, our health, our freedoms from within, then we give up the need to control others. So what's happening right now? There's an immense, as this control mechanism gets tighter and tighter because it's not working. Half of Americans are not jabbed. Something like a third of Canadians, and on and on and on. Why? Because people want to think for themselves and believe what they believe. So what's happening is immense amount of pressure and control to try to get those people who are not conforming to act the way that the others want. And don't get me wrong, I have complete respect for anybody who chooses the route of the jab. And anything else, the mask, the social distancing, the staying at home, to do whatever they want. That is personal sovereignty. But when it crosses the line of others have to choose, you have to do for me to make me feel, and this happened last year and this is why I was against, and I still am very much against masks, is that you have to wear a mask for me. When you have to do something for somebody else's comfort and make them feel better, we are in others' responsibility, and there's no end to that. We're always needing to control others in order for us to feel safe. And so we see this just getting louder and louder and louder, and then the division happens and people get stuck in their camp. So I know there's so many people who will say, well, how do you stop the spread of a virus when people are just looking after themselves? Well, it's pretty straightforward, right? People choose what they want. People choose how they want to work on their health. Those who decide that they want an injection and that makes them feel good and feel safe, awesome. Those who do not choose to a healthier, or what I believe, to be a healthier route, which is not to inject myself with an experimental pharmaceutical procedure, then I have to take the chance that I might catch a virus. And then what will I do? Then I will use my best of my abilities, my own immune system, to fight it. And you'll say, well, then somebody might catch it. This comes back to a fundamental misunderstanding of the laws of the universe. You cannot catch something from me if you're not a vibrational match for it. It's not part of your spiritual path. It's not part of what you are attracting. And the same with me. This is something that very few people are getting right now. That my son, who worked in seniors residence at the early 2020 when the pandemic was going crazy. And he said, Mom, there were people who were 95 and at the end of their life, many of them, most of them actually, not many of them, most of them got COVID and were fine. So why is that? We see people who are in the same houses, in the same rooms with others, and they don't get it. Why is that? They're not a match for it. It's not what they need right now. And I know there's a lot of people who will tune out right now, and that's okay. This is a message for those who are open to listen to a different perspective than that's been constantly berated on mainstream media. I've, over the last year and a half, been challenged quite a bit with trying to speak my truth and being censored and being bullied and being shamed and all the low levels of consciousness. We know what's the lowest level of consciousness is shaming. We have mainstream media, outlets like CNN and so forth, who are telling people to go and shame your family and neighbors in order to get this. Well, if that doesn't make you a little bit kind of, there's something wrong here. And then we've seen for a whole year, same media, the same big tech, the same pharma producing fear. That fear is just a little bit higher on the consciousness scale, but it is a very low level of consciousness. So to all of those who have been in such fear and who have received the jab and are now being told that not only do you still actually will get it, and now more and more showing that you will be hospitalized possibly just as much as the ones who are unjabbed, that this, and that you need more and more and more, is just to think about this cycle of, you thought the fear was going to end, you thought we were going to go back to normal, and it's coming obvious now in the next few weeks more and more. This is some of the things we've been saying for a long time. It's not going to end. It's going to be more and more and more control until more people waken. You can't solve your fear by a pill. You have to solve your fear with consciousness. You have to solve your fear by dealing with it face on. So the fear that I have been dealing with over the last year and a half, there's been a number of ones, but also the people who are seeing what's been happening in the manipulation and trying to share that with others have faced all sorts of being ostracized and being criticized and bullied and so forth, which I've experienced quite a bit of actually over the last year and a half. So that triggers the fear of belonging, right? So I'm going to lose the belonging, I'm going to lose friends. And I've lost quite a few friends along the way for just not asking people to do what I say, but ask people to allow me for my own thoughts and freedoms. And so, again, we have to think about, yes, we're all in this boat together, but the only way this boat together works is if we honor each other and we recognize that we are much greater than this flesh body that just has no control of what happens to it. A virus comes by in its area and it automatically gets it. That is absolutely incorrect. And people who keep saying out there, follow the science, recognize that science has become a religion. And I have followed the science for the last year and a half. And I've followed scientists who were some of the inventors of some of this technology, some of the people who are at the very forefront of the PCR and all this technology, who come out with a very different voice than what the scientists of the mainstream media and government are saying are right. They have been completely silenced. Well, completely, I don't think so, because they find their way somewhere else. But they've come out at their potential peril and loss of job, loss of status, loss of income, in order to speak some of what they believe their truth to be. So if we are truly in a boat together, we need to be able to balance the self-responsibility that I'm here with my own desires and needs with being in service of the community. So in what I've been accused of over the last year and a half of being selfish because I don't want this, and that's coming from people who don't really understand that my belief around some of these things goes completely against what theirs is. I understand. They have believed that the mask is for the greater good, or that the jab is their duty to help others. I don't feel that way. I feel quite the opposite. I feel my duty is more to speak my truth and to help others recognize that there is something greater going on, and that we have an opportunity to rise above this and to really manifest our greatest potential through this by addressing our darkest fears, our darkest triggers, our old traumas. And then when we can do that, we recognize that none of this can affect us. You know, I've been very much going against the lockdowns and the controls and the health passports and all that, because I really believe it's pulling humanity into a direction that is not of its greatest good. So you can call me selfish for that, but I'm outspoken, taking risks like change leaders should take risks, not worrying about what other people think, not getting obsessed with that. Yes, taking it in, listening to all perspectives, but really then going into critical thinking, your inner authority, and then speaking from that perspective with courage, like I believe I'm doing right now. As I know many people who are watching this will unfriend me, unfollow me, whatever, not talk to me. Well, I've been going through that for 1.5 years now. And my skin is getting thicker and thicker. So that's one of the things that I've had to learn. And so the idea that another person is selfish because they think differently than you, or another person may be, a sheep or following because they think differently than you. All of these things come from a place of judgment rather than recognizing we're all players in this game at different levels because we chose to be at the different levels. And some decide they want to sleep through this whole awakening. There's no judgment there. Some people want to take the hard route and awaken really quickly. There's no judgment. Every one of us has our own journey. And when we can honor that and recognize, and I honor everybody and their path and where they're at. And yes, I fall into judgment, and yes, I fall into fear. But what do I do with that is I come back to myself each time and say, what is it in me that still needs to be cleared and healed? What is that fear? What is that triggering? What is that survival mode triggering? And so as we move forward in the next few weeks into the Lion's Gate, so some of you know the 8-8, the August 8th Lion's Gate is where the highest level of light comes onto the planet. And with the highest level of light comes much more shadows. And so there'll be even more pressure and more pressure for those who are standing in their sovereignty to acquiesce. And so I speak to you as well to recognize, have patience. This too shall pass. This is just to reveal to more and more people what has been going on, the real control and manipulation. And we see it already. 2 weeks ago, we were told that 98%, that this was a pandemic of the unjabbed, and that 98% of all people, or 99, were who had being tested positive, if you will, were ones who were not. And that we have to go out, we have to do it. And then a week later, the same people come out and say, well, this is actually the ones who have and the ones who haven't been jabbed are both equally likely to carry this new variant. And so everyone has to go back into masks and lockdowns and so forth. So this inconsistency is the reaction of the game masters, if you will, the elite, the globalists, who are really trying, because we are awakening faster and faster and faster, they're trying very quickly to change the game, because they're recognizing that we're awakening and we're kind of stepping out of the game. We're unplugging from the matrix faster and faster than they can keep up with. So for those of you who feel completely coerced and manipulated and shamed and bullied, I say to you, try to recognize this is a learning for yourself, that one, what other people think of you is not your business. It's to be always your highest self, and everything to be of your highest evolution and growth. And that to trust in the universe, that whether this is or maybe calling you to step into a new type of job, to live somewhere else, to be in a new relationship, that if your truth is to be of one thing and you feel coerced to do another, this is a really great opportunity for you for growth and evolution, and not to acquiesce to that. And if you do, there's no judgment. You acquiesce, you learn, and you grow. That's what this is all about. So that's pretty much it for this Sunday. It's a very challenging time, and I respect you all. For those who are upset with me, who think I shouldn't be speaking out, why, at the risk of losing potential clients, of losing friends, I say that we all have a purpose in this life and a mission. That's what I stand for. And my company is named Designing Transformation. I have a network called the Human Potential Network. And I wouldn't be true to my mission if I wasn't able to courageously stand for my truth and know that the cards will fall where they will. But at the same time, I will be attracting new people into my life, new opportunities. And so I hope that some of this resonates, but if it doesn't, that's cool too. And feel free to do with this the way you want. And don't feel upset if you decide you don't want to follow me anymore, you don't want to be my friend, or you don't want to be my client, or whatever it might be. I recognize that this is what the path right now is all about, is for us to choose our authentic path without the fear of loss, with detaching from the things we're so attached to. And when we can really, really walk with that kind of courage and that kind of authenticity and that kind of truth, what's possible really for humanity. So that's it for me. Thank you very much for listening. I wish you all well. Respect you all for where you're at and what you're doing on your journey. I hope your journey is joyful, blissful, and full of magnificent openings and awakenings. Love.